Welcome back to the Paranormal Girl podcast. I am your host, Kristen. Thank you, anyone who has tuned in. I really appreciate it. This is a really special episode. It's going to be special for a couple of reasons. So, last month I did something similar, and I played a pre-recorded discussion I had with Scott Tompkins about drones and his drone tracker app, and it was awesome. And at the end of that episode, a few of you said that you really liked the format and you'd like to see more of it. So, ever the Aries, ever the envelope pusher, I've decided to do you one better and welcome onto the show the first ever live in the flesh dedicated guest, hopefully marking the beginning of a long and glorious regular guest segment on the show. Um, I'm thinking Paranorm Girl After Dark, Paranorm Girl After Hours. I don't know. I'm thinking. Okay. If you have any suggestions, put them in the chat. Two, I don't often get to delve into fictional or fantasy literature, let alone paranormal romance. We did get real close with Bigfoot erotica. We got so close, you guys, and it may still happen. Gil, hey Steve, or is it Alex? I can't tell. Nocturnal Frequency Radio is here. Thank you for jumping on. Yeah, Gil, get back to me on that Bigfoot erotica, man. I mean, I've just been asking you to do it over and over nonstop. Like, what's the holdup, man? Um, but yeah, all of that being said, I'm just really excited to get into this subject matter and to talk about my guest's work and his influences and his inspirations. It's going to be a fun show. Party environment, just laid back feel, just a conversation amongst friends. Now, before I introduce him, let me just holla. So we've got Gil, of course, is in the chat. Passionate Apathy Entertainment. What? And Nocturnal Frequency Radio is here. Gil says he's laughing his ass off and he's pushing for Bigfoot erotica hard. Barry Wood, thanks for stopping in. Thank you guys. So we will get some more tricklers into the chat. I know I've got a few people coming late. That is okay. We're going to push forward. But I will say, uh, if you guys have any questions for my guest, there's going to be a lot going on this end just because it's such a totally different format that I'm used to. I will very much try my hardest to keep an eye on the chat for your questions, but I will be um, reserving some space at the end of our discussion to have listener questions then. So if you want to save them up and put them in there right at the end, and then we can just get them answered in real time, that would work as well. If you do ask a question, remember to put it in caps. Maybe that will be a way I can kind of easily decipher what is what, and that'll work that way. All right. With that, let me introduce my guest and get him on. Kenyth Mogan was born and raised in northeastern Montana in a town that NASA has literally dubbed the middle of nowhere. That can be said for a lot of towns in Montana, speaking from personal experience. Always lost in a book, he soon discovered his own passion for writing and would tell stories to anyone who would listen, most often the family dog, Reggie. His debut graphic novel, The Phoenix Chronicles, was followed by a foray into music with the viral video Unlock Your Heart. Set in the magical land of Oz, the video introduced him to a whole new world of possibilities. When the global pandemic brought the world to a standstill, Kenyth found himself drawn back to his first love, the written word. He began to craft a new tale, one that would weave together the threads of love, loss, and magic that had always fascinated him. My Dead Boyfriend is the first in a trilogy, so much more to look forward to. Let's go ahead and bring on Kenyth Mogan.
Hello.
Hello. Hi, how's it going?
Good. It's so funny. It's so weird listening to you read my bio. I mean, we've known each other for 20 years
Forever.
now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure. Let's say 20.
we have a history.
We are not old.
No, 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 we are not old at all.
We have an old we have a shared acting background, people, and
Yes.
now a published author, a paranormal romance author. God, how the tables have turned.
I know,
Uh,
it's weird. Who would have thought?
who would have thought? We all became something though.
I know.
Um, so let's dive right in because I cannot wait to get into the book. I read the book.
Yeah,
Is a very easy read. Oh my god, it's
thank you.
200 pages. I finished that
Yeah.
thing in like half a day because it's just
Oh,
so easy.
good.
It moves, it moves, it moves. Like the story is very good. It's a good vehicle, and I just love the different aspects that you use. I'm going to ask you about that. And then I've got a couple of other questions up my sleeve. But
Yeah.
first, to start us off, why don't you give the listeners a little intro on yourself, just a brief overview of Kenyth Mogan?
Oh gosh. Well, I again grew up in Montana in Glasgow, which is very, very, very small. Anyone who knows Montana knows there's not a lot to do there. And so I just kind of started writing, and I've always been a writer and storyteller, and always loved music and magic and things like that. And so I kind of fell into that when I moved out to LA, which I don't really think surprised anyone who knew us in, in Missoula. I was like, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go work with Tiffany. And I did. So, yeah. So I've always been one of those, I'm not afraid to try new things. And, so
Mhm.
I've had no fear. I've never been one. I think being, part of the drama department in Missoula, you had to have, a thick skin. You couldn't let criticism bother you. We had a couple professors that just didn't give a shit.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
So that really helped me to kind of not be afraid to try new things and to fall flat on my face and get back up again. And yeah, so
Yes, yes, and
yeah.
well, you have continued staying busy. You're an artist. You're a music maker. You're an author. You're just very very busy. In fact,
Yes.
you you just came back from Japan, and
Mhm.
you go there often. Why are you over there?
I fell in love with Japanese music. I had watched this. This sounds so silly. I watched this Japanese boys' love series called My Love Mix Up, or Keta Hatsukoi, as it's called in Japan, and I fell in love with the music, and kind of started following the actors. They were all part of these boy bands, and one thing just kind of led to another, and I started this blog, and then I got to interview a couple of them, and then I got to go to their shows, and it's just kind of fallen into this thing. The book is actually, my dead boyfriend is actually dedicated to one of the bands, because I right when I left Missoula, I had a book come out called The Phoenix Princess. And it was a big flop. Like it was not a pretty experience for me at all. And so I stopped writing. And then when I kind of fell into this music, it kind of really inspired me and helped me. I listened to this band called Travis Japan while I wrote the book. And so that's why they're in the dedication, because they were so inspiring to me. And so, yeah,
Okay. Okay. All right. Well,
weird answer, but
speaking
it's me.
no, no, no. I might have I we might touch back on your inspirations and get a little deeper into that.
Yeah.
With that, actually, let's go ahead and pull up the book cover, the book of which
Yeah.
we speak, My Dead Boyfriend by Kenyth
Hmm.
Mogan. All right. So I hope you can do this. Would you be able to give us a brief synopsis of the story? Just very touch on it.
Yeah, so it's about this character named Max. He moved to Bangkok from Fort Peck, which is where I'm from, and his boyfriend TJ was supposed to move with him. TJ dies. He gets killed by this supernatural kind of hell beast, and his soul gets sucked into the underworld. And then, you know, kind of comes back as a shade or a ghost, and the two kind of have to navigate this whole new aspect of their relationship, and they end up adopting like a werewolf baby, and there's this whole war between heaven and hell, and it just kind of explodes.
It does, but it's so good. You blend. romance with the grief, and the grief is very, very real, like it's impactful, and then you blend it so well in this supernatural world, and it's like we get to ride with you, like your reader gets to ride from a world very much crafted in reality into the supernatural world, and there's never like a hiccup. Like it's
Oh,
just so
good.
smooth, blended very, very well. um it's a unique story. What Why this particular story, and why did you tell it in this way?
So I had someone that I dated in school that had passed away. And after he passed away, I started having these very vivid kind of dreams. And they were kind of like this whole life we had or would have had together if we had stayed together, and kind of this whole other like reality, like multiverse kind of a thing. And I mean, they were super real. Like I would call my cousin Echo and my friend Emily and be like, I've had these dreams, and I started writing them down. And so I just kind of decided, I'm like, you know what, this might make a fun book. And it was kind of my way of dealing with that grief and the loss of someone who was for a very, definitive time in my life, very important. And then, life happens and you drift apart, and then he passed away, and it was kind of like very weird, and kind of a weird thing to grapple with when you find out that someone that was super important but is still important but not quite in the same way, and then they're just gone. And it was very kind of, that's kind of where the story kind of came from. I hope I explained that okay.
It made sense.
Oh,
Yes,
good,
yes,
good,
it
good.
did very well.
It's me.
Well, paranormal romance. So, first off, is My Dead Boyfriend, is this your first supernatural romance that you've written? Was the Phoenix Chronicles?
The Phoenix Chronicles came out as a comic book, and I started writing that working the dance showcase in Missoula. I had an idea for this dance thing, and it's kind of supernatural but more fantasy. This one kind of was this supernatural boys love, kind of slightly erotic. It's not super well. My mother says it's porn, but
Oh,
parts of it. But but yeah. So yeah, this is my first real novel to come out. That.
okay.
So it's very special to me.
Yes. Well, were there any especially challenging scenes to write or chapters to write, either emotionally or structurally? Where did the challenge lie?
It was emotional because I did put some of the past with him into the story, like him sneaking into the window and things like that, which is kind of what happened when I was at home, living with
Okay.
my dad. He would sneak in through the window. Um, and the structurally, writing the sex scenes was very weird for me. Because I'm
Oh,
like,
okay.
there's not a pretty way to say certain things. Like it's just, and I was like, I don't know how to do this. It's, and it was that was the weirdest part for me, was like, how do I put this into words and not feel like I should feel ashamed afterwards?
Okay. Okay. You know what? That's fair. That's fair. Yes, there's only so many ways you can label the same thing. We
Yeah,
all
yeah.
know, but yeah, I got you. Well, all right, so paranormal romance is a very I told you last night, it's very niche.
Mhm,
It has a very dedicated audience. They're very
mhm.
serious. Are you ready? I hope you're ready.
I hope so. Yes, yes, I am very ready. I'm very ready. I'm glad that you found it easy to follow. That's my big
Yeah.
worry, is because I'm so, as you know, I'm so scattered. Like I'm always just kind of all over the place, and you never know which version of me you're going to get. So I was a little afraid that that kind
Mhm.
of went into the book, and I was like, God, I hope it makes sense. And I was really nervous, and I asked my editor like multiple times, like, are you sure that, does this make sense here? Does this? He's like, oh my God, stop. We picked it up because it's fine. Don't worry about it. It's gonna be great.
No, you know what, and I thought because some of these more erotic novels will overdo that aspect of it
Mhm.
and stray away from the story, and I did not think you did that at all. So, so that's good. It's just enough to whet the appetite.
Good.
Were you prior to writing it, were you
Mhm.
already familiar, like very familiar with the genre? Had you read many of this type?
I'd watched a couple series, that especially out of the reason why it's set in Thailand is it was gonna be in Japan, but I moved it to Thailand because I started getting to know these Thai authors, and they had kind of recommended some of their work to me. So I had read the books, and then I had watched some of the shows that had come out. And it's funny, there's this one author, her name is Jitty Rain. She wrote these these books that became massive television hits together, Theory of Love, and this show called Vice Versa. And I do this blog, and I was interviewing her kind of like we're doing now. And she was like, "Is this you?" And she sent me my music. She sent me Unlock Your Heart. And so
Oh.
so she was a fan of mine and I was a fan of hers.
Oh, cool.
And so we kind of connected, and it was a
Mhm.
really cool moment for me. And so I'm like, I've got to move this book to Thailand so I can hopefully one day get to go there and do that. But I had read a couple mostly Thai series, and the Thai world is so different than our world because in like American cinema or television, they write gay characters, and that's basically their whole
Mhm.
personality. Where in Thailand, that's they write characters that just happen to that's a part of who they are. That's their sexuality, but it doesn't define them. And I really liked
Mhm.
that. And so I've watched a lot of Thai series. There's a show called He's Coming to Me, and Something in My Room, and my friend Dorothy's gonna kill me because I just forgot this name, and it's my favorite. Until We Meet Again, that are supernatural, that really kind of helped inspire the story of this book, especially Until We Meet Again, because it's all about how destiny will bring you together, and the souls will always find a way back to one another. And
Mhm.
kind of going back to this guy that I dated previously, that kind of gave me hope because we were a good match. And then, like I said, life happened, and I moved and he moved, and it was, yeah.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Maybe it was a good thing that you were more familiar with like series, like live
Mhm.
action things rather than the genre of paranormal romance and those types of books that are constantly being pumped out, because I think it might have had an effect on the work that you did with the characters.
Mhm.
Like you said, and some things that you watch, like, being like gay or being like this or whatever is the character, but you were able to craft more like, I don't know, just fuller life to these people. You have
Mhm.
such an interesting cast of characters in your book. Uh, I was just personally curious, are they based off of, just because authors do this, are they based off of anyone from your real life? Mm?
There are a lot of them, and people from high school, have picked out a couple of things. So, like, "I think this is this person," and I'm like, "I can confirm nor
Mm.
deny." But, yes, there are people that come in that you would be familiar with, or anyone that knew me. Yeah, there's a lot of people that come in and kinda are present in the stories. So, yes,
Okay.
I do that a lot. My best friend Emily growing up, and then my cousin Echo, who
Mhm.
always finds a way into my stories. There's always a couple people that I always have to put in just because they mean so much to me. They're still here, but
Mhm,
they meant so
mhm.
much that I have to do little things that when they read it, they'll be like, "Oh, hey, that's me."
Okay, alright, alright. I was wondering, yeah. Well, that's cool, that's cool. Fiction is based on reality to some
Mm,
extent. It all is. Well, on the characters, so you did something I really appreciated, where I just really enjoy it when authors don't follow like a cookie cutter route with these supernatural characters. Like, how many times do we have to read, this rehash of the same 20 something vampire immortal, at like the perfect age, perfect body, he's got the hypnotic gait. Like, how many times do we have to see this? Give me
mhm.
something different. Give me something to sink my teeth into. pun intended. Um, so I really enjoyed what you did with TJ's kind of ghost
Mhm.
shade character and his reality, and you set those rules, and there were some different things about that and the other characters.
Mhm.
So I wanted to see or like ask whether you had like just personal experience in life or familiarity with myth or cultural beliefs that really influenced the way that you decided to depict like TJ's ghost character or, just supernatural characters.
So I come from a very, as you can probably tell by looking at me, I come from a very Nordic background, and
What?
my great grandmother, I know, right? So shock. My great grandmother Siggy, my cousin Jody, they were very much into like Old Norse mythology and kind of
Mhm.
nature and magic, and kind of really from a young age instilled that kind of wonder and belief in me that never, you know, probably to the detriment of me sometimes, that rainbow bright glow never went away. And so I kind of used that as a way of, because all myths, like they say, you know, they're all grounded in reality, and I wanted to give him something that wasn't just kind of out there and airy, that, you know, he could do all of these things, that, you know, just because he's a ghost, you know, walk through walls or do all that.
Mhm.
And I wanted to give him rules that he had to follow, and things that would make him different, like you said, like being able to touch Max, because they have these rings that connect their souls, and so he can touch him and anything he owns, but nothing else, and he can see him, or, you know, the kid and other things like that,
Mhm.
to where he it has to be a specific thing or it's not going to work, because I don't like stories. My roommate and I were just talking about this, where they kind of crap all over their own mythology, and they're like, they set a rule, but then all of a sudden the rule can be broken only when it's a good plot point. I hate that.
Mhm.
So I
Mhm.
wanted to give it things. And I've been one, you know, growing up in Montana again, you know, there's this whole, on the prairie, there's not much else to do than read. So
Yep.
and you know, being from Montana, we got a lot of ghost towns around us. And so I was always been into that whole aspect of the paranormal. It's always fascinated me. And I've had my own experiences with ghosts and things that,
Ooh.
yeah, that I really kind of try to work into the story, and things that hopefully people will kind of find a little bit more believable, other than, like you just said, the vampire. Nobody glitters. There's no there's no sparkling
No sparkling
in this
skin
story.
in the sun?
No,
No.
no, no.
Oh, good for you.
Not that they're
Um,
bad, but no.
I am going to pick your brain for those
Mhm,
personal experiences. I think
mhm,
that is where we will round it out. But before that, before we leave off the book, there was something in particular I wanted to discuss with you.
mhm,
It's in the book. You touched upon a real paranormal phenomenon called spectrophilia.
mhm,
And spectrophilia, it's fascinating. There are two parts to spectrophilia. So one part is like this very kind of logical, psychological thing where it's people who have sexual attraction to mirrors. I think it's not very clear. I think that it's probably their like reflection. It
yeah.
could be the mirror. Maybe I'm wrong. Like people are attracted to some strange things. There was a lady like engaged to the Eiffel Tower and
I saw that documentary.
consummated things.
Yeah.
Um, so it could be the mirror. But then there's this other side of spectrophilia, and that is people who are attracted to or sexually involved with ghosts. They have relationships with ghosts, and there's some pretty crazy stories that go with that, but some that make you think, ponder it. I was wondering if, like, during your research or as you were writing, did you stumble into this concept?
A little bit, yes. It was, like I said, mostly kind of based on my these kind of dreams and stuff that I was having, which were so incredibly real. Like, I mean, like, I couldn't wait to, like, take a nap or go to sleep, because it was like every time I closed my eyes, I was in this parallel world, and I remember there was one dream specifically where my grandmother, who had passed away in 2016, we were in Hinsdale, which is another nowhere town, but I love it. It's such a great place. And they have a street dance where they close off the streets every 3rd of July, and it's this great big party. And my grandmother was there, and in the dream, him and I had adopted this little boy, which is where TJ came from,
Mhm.
or not TJ, excuse me, Tao came from.
Tayo. Mhm.
Yeah, and she had him on her lap, and she's like, "We've been waiting. I've been so excited to meet you." And it was like I could reach out and touch her, and I could smell her perfume, and it was so real. And that's one of the main,
Mhm.
like, after that, I have to start writing these down, because of course, I mean, when you're dreaming and there's a sexy guy or girl in your dream, things happen, and that was part of, not with my grandmother, but but other parts of the story. And yeah, so it's that was something that I kind of stumbled into on my own, and I didn't really know about spectrophilia until I kind of started
Mm,
researching for actually writing the book, and had
okay.
found with some of the Thai stuff that was a thing, and I was like, oh, okay, so this is, I'm not just some weirdo, like, this is a real thing. And
Mhm.
yeah, so I was able to kind of use that and put that in. Yes.
Is it a very, like, more prominent subject in Thailand? Like, is
They
that
have a lot of series that deal with that kind of stuff. It's the Thai
Oh.
BL genre is, like, fascinating. Like, there's ghost stories and vampire stories and things that you're just like, what the hell? People that turn into animals, and I mean, not while they're doing things, but yeah, it's a very interesting genre of television that you're just like, it's really out there, but really fun for anyone that watches these things.
Okay, okay. Well, it's interesting just based on your experience, not that it was, what we're
Yeah.
talking about, but it gave you some kinda, like, level of understanding of it.
Mhm.
That's actually how a lot of folks that I've read about that have these experiences, it often happens when they're, just waking up or they are just falling asleep, and that could be coinciding with like hypnagogic hallucinations and that
Mhm.
kind of thing. The stories that stick out to me are the ones when it's not that time of day. You are not like halfway asleep and this is happening. You're chilling in your living room on your lazy boy, and your skirt starts sliding up. You're like, what's going on? So those really catch my eye. So as far as this phenomenon, how do you actually feel about like thinking
Mhm.
about it in a real sense, because it's very real to a lot of people,
Mhm.
and then like I said, there are some of these stories that are a little bit more real. Like, what do you think about it?
See, I with me, I know that there's so much out there that we as humans just don't comprehend. And I
Hmm.
love that there are people that believe that, yes, this is real for them. And if it's real for you, then it's real to you. And that, that is a thing.
Hmm.
Some of it, there was this one story where someone, like, he believed his girlfriend was impregnated by a ghost, and I was like, I think she just cheated on you, bro. But
Ooh.
but you never know. But
Hmm.
I do believe that there's so much out there, and I've seen apparitions, I've seen shadow people, I've seen these things. So I do believe that they're. My grandmother always used to say that, kind of the multiverse thing, where everything's just on a different frequency. And so
Yeah.
it could be that sometimes those frequencies cross, and things do happen. I do believe that that is a thing. I
Okay.
believe
Okay.
that there's things out there that, yeah, it's, I don't know if they can make you pregnant, but I do I do believe that things do happen, and the, like, poltergeist and the entity and things that were based on
Mhm.
people's real stories where that did happen.
Right.
Like, the entity was a movie in the 70s where you could see the fingerprints of the ghost on the woman in the film, and that's based on a real story. So yeah, I do believe that there are things out there that can happen.
I think I'm right there with you. Like I'm pretty open to most concepts, although like on one hand I'm pretty open to the possibility because I know just how weird reality actually
Mhm.
is. And then on the other hand, like I'm the biggest skeptic until I dive into something and I see like a mountain of evidence that I just wasn't aware of before. Okay, okay. Well, you might be talking about actually. That rung a bell. The woman who said she got pregnant. Did she happen to say if it was from like a demonic
I
entity?
I don't remember that part of it. I just remember reading it, and the guy was like, "Yeah," he's like, "I totally believe it," and I was like, "Okay,
Oh, he
okay."
he believes it because he wants to believe it.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm like, "You know what?
Yeah.
Good for you. If it's real for you, then good on you."
Well, all right. I think that that's a good segue, I think, to bring us into our last section here, because I want to get into your personal experiences. Yes, you mentioned you've had a few. So please, you have the floor. I would love to hear just give me these juicy stories.
Well, like spiritual stuff, like likewise. Like I remember after my grandmother, a lot of them involve her. After she passed away, I
Mhm.
remember being in her house in Hinsdale, and I was doing the dishes. And it was about 6 months after she passed, and I knew that doing the dishes was like a metaphor for my life because it was just as music was coming out, and I was kind of getting everything together. And they had this kind of pocket door that closed off the kitchen to the living room, and it opened, and she walked in wearing this dress she knew I absolutely hated. It was the most hideous thing on the planet, and I told her that every time she wore it. And she wore that, and it was one of those things again. She's like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "I'm doing the dishes." And she's like, "Well, have coffee." So we sat down at her table, and we had coffee for what felt like hours, and we just talked about everything, what was going on in my life, what she was doing, what it was like. I knew she was dead. Like I knew that I was having this conversation with the spirit of a dead person, and it was so real. And she, at
Mhm.
the end of it, she stood up and she's like, "Okay, well, I've got to go now." And I was like, "Oh, I'm not ready." And she's like, "No." She's like, "You'll be fine, I'll come back." And she hugged me, and I could feel her hair on my cheek, I could smell her perfume again, and it was so real. And she just said, "Okay, baby, I love you." And she walked out and she shut the door, and I woke up, and I was just sobbing. But it
Mhm.
was also one of the coolest, most incredible things that I've ever been to. It was so
Yeah.
real.
Yeah.
And I had an experience. I lived in a house in Hinsdale. It was an old farmhouse that multiple people had died in, which I didn't know until much later in life.
Probably
But
good.
yeah, probably good. But our basement door used to open and close all the time. Like not just like flap in the wind,
Oh.
like it would open up slowly and creak and then slam shut.
Mm.
And we would smell things cooking in the kitchen. We would hear people on the steps. Um, I remember when my great grandmother passed away, I was on the stairs playing with like these action figures, and my mom was like, "I need to talk to you." And we went down. She told us she died, and I freaked out, and I ran up the stairs, and I was like, boom, right back to playing with the toys. And my mom came around and said, "I need to talk to you." And the whole scenario happened again. And there were multiple things like that where I would walk in and I would know what we were having for dinner before I got home.
Mhm.
And it would just I would my mom said I would sleepwalk often, and I would, I guess one time I walked right up to my stepfather like in the middle of the night and just like screamed in his face and said that there was some ghost that was telling me to do it. I was dead asleep, and I had zero idea. My mom told me the next day because I woke up on the couch in the living room. I was like, "What the?" I'm
Mhm.
like, "How did I get here?" And my mom was like, "You scared the shit out of us," and so I had no recollection of it whatsoever. Um,
Whoa. Wait, so
yeah,
so these all took place in one location, this house?
most of them took place in that house. It was very poltergeisty. Um,
Wow,
yeah,
yeah.
it was very, very weird. And I remember anytime, and Echo can corroborate this. So if you ever think, if you want to know the truth, ask her. But anytime I see like a shadow person, like I know someone has died or something is about to happen. every single time. And so that's something like and that's something that my grandmother would tell me, my great grandmother when I was younger, that's the shadow people are kind of like from this other, like when death is closing in, they kind of, that frequency kind of shifts and they come through.
Okay, when you say every time I see a shadow person,
Mhm.
are you're seeing like a lot or like a couple or
No, I
what are
mean,
we talking about here? Every
it's been
time?
a few, and I mean, and it's not just like a shadow on a wall, but like they're these. I'm just bad luck. Echo will tell you that too. Um, but no, I've seen these weird kind of. Are you familiar with the shadow people? Like what they are?
Mhm,
Like the kind of the myths and legends of those. Like they're kind of
mhm.
humanoid, but not quite.
They
And
they freak me
freak the
out so bad.
fuck out of me. And I remember seeing them multiple times and like either out of the corner of my eye or like dead on. And I will never forget I was living in this house here in California, and I had just had this gut feeling that something just wasn't right all day. And I went to bed early because I just wasn't feeling well. And something like jolted me awake. And I just felt like this like like shadow, like it just whoosh, like came down, and I screamed and I ran out of my room. And like my heart, like the people I was living with, like, what's going, I mean, it was only like 10 o'clock at night. Like it wasn't like the middle of the night, but I was like
Mhm.
freaking out. And there had been someone that had been murdered. And I had gotten a call from my friend like probably 15 minutes later. And it was just like,
Whoa.
yeah, so it was just one of those things where I'm like, anytime I'm like, yep, I know something weird is going to happen. So
Wow. So you've gotten to the point where you can kind of expect to receive some news if
yes,
Mhm.
yeah, anytime I see that, anytime I feel, well, I mean, and I bet, so for the listeners that don't know, Echo is my cousin Kristen, and I knew her in school, or Kristen knew us in school. We were always the weird ones, that were we were always weirdly connected.
You were
But it
adorable.
we were adorkable. But yeah, it's something that and that's one of the reasons why I believe in all the supernatural, the spiritual realms and things like that, because I have
Mhm.
so much experience with it that it can't, not we can't be the only thing here. There's something out there. So
Yeah.
hopefully it's not all shadow people and weirdness, but
Hope not, because
that,
that's I have not seen a shadow person for myself yet. I've been very close to one. I'll tell you the story later, but
yeah,
never seen one. Thank goodness, because I would run and never stop running ever.
they're creepy.
Well, Kenneth, it seems to me like there are certain people who are just like they're closer to the veil or something. Like they've just got this natural innate ability to be in touch with that kind of stuff. And I had no idea about that, like with you. I just never knew. Yeah, makes me sad I didn't ask you sooner.
Oh, I'm surprised that you didn't ever I'd never forced you to listen to some of these stories when we were in the green room, because I'm sure that there are people that would be like, "Oh my god, he didn't shut up about it." So,
Oh, well, that's awesome. I think that's really like all I wanted to get into, but I like I said at the beginning of the show, I did want to open up a little bit of space here. Anyone in the chat who would like to ask a question, now is a great time to do it. I'm just going to scroll through, make sure I didn't miss any. I didn't. Yes. So if you have a question for Kenneth about my dead boyfriend, about writing romance novels, about shadow people, anything, I guess you can ask him anything about the paranormal. He's experienced it all. Uh, throw it in the chat and we will throw those up on screen. So while we're waiting, we'll see if we get any questions. Sometimes people get shy, that's fine. I do have one more question.
yeah.
I was um, so my dead boyfriend
Mhm,
is the first in a trilogy.
mhm.
Oftentimes, trilogies that do well see themselves adapted to film. Yeah. If this were the case for my dead boyfriend, who's your dream cast?
Oh
I know you've already
god.
thought about it. Come
I
on.
have so much. I've just I well, and it's funny, and I keep going back to the Thai thing. There when I with Jitty Rain, He's Coming to Me was the first series that I watched in this whole Thai BL genre, and it was directed by this guy named Off. And long story short, Jitty Rain was like, "Hey, can I wrote it as a script?" And she's like, "Can I show this to my friend?" And it ended up being Off, and I
Mhm.
like freaked out because there's a lot of the Thai actors that I'm like, I want them to do it. I want them to do it. But as far as people that people would know, I really like. I never the kid from that played Wiccan in Agatha All Along. I think he would
Ooh,
be. Uh,
I haven't seen it.
his last name is Locke. He was in Heartstoppers. He's I really like him. I'm so bad with people's names,
Me
um,
too.
but I think he would be really good. And then I'm gonna butcher his name, McEnroe from the Airbender series, and he's done all these other. He's this Japanese actor that's just beautiful, and I'd want him to play TJ. Um, but yeah, they're two of the people that I think would be really fun for them to bring these characters. I would be happy with anybody. I wouldn't care. I just want it to happen. So I would not be picky. I'm not one of those that were like, well, I envisioned this person. I'm like, no, I am not a director. So as long as you can act, I don't care. Just yeah, I just think it would be fun to see it adapted into
I would
something,
like to see
anything.
that too. Yeah, yeah. Well, time will tell. I know you got
Yes.
more coming. So, but would you have some questions, Gil? So Gil asks, are there any experience that you'd love to write about but haven't had time to research or found the right plot to add it into?
Oh, so many, so many. I know I want to do more of the supernatural, bring in more of the I don't know how to say things without sounding like a weirdo. Because like the idea like there's some kind of possession stuff happening in My Dead Boyfriend. I'm really
Mm.
fond of people that have one foot in reality, one foot in the spiritual realm, and walking those two lines. um but I don't know, like there's different things I want to try that I don't know how to say out loud without like I said, people thinking that I'm weird. um
Do you know where
but yeah.
you are right now? Come
I know. But,
Also,
oh
thank you so
goodness.
much for coming on. I appreciate it.
No, I'm so excited. Like I'm so excited. You're one of my favorite people. But yeah, I think probably I know I want to do more of the supernatural, like the ghost, and try to make that because like I said, with this one being my first, I want to make it a little bit more realistic the next time. So in the second book, I'm dealing with a lot of it's set in Japan. It'll come out later this year, and I'm dealing with a lot of mythos and stuff that I'm bringing into the story. So there's a lot of Japanese folklore that'll be coming into it, and then I have
Okay.
another series that's coming out that kind of deals with that kind of stuff too. So
Okay.
yeah, there's
Oh,
definitely be more that I like
mhm.
bringing in the myths and stuff, like not just I like the Japanese culture, I like the Asgardian stuff. I want to bring everything in because I think that everything is connected as far as all of our myths and stories go.
Mhm. All right, all right. Well, we'll be looking forward to it. Some more to come. And Air Force One, we are all weird. Don't even feel bad for it.
Thank you.
He's so true. He's always spot on. And he had another comment up here. I haven't gotten a chance to look at it, but oh wait, I'd be so much more. Where is your comment? Where'd it go? All ghosts are creepy, but there are no creepy ghosts. Never hear about the big gay biker at the end of the bed. Are you
I love that.
That's true. It's true. You don't hear about certain ghosts, okay?
Yeah, that's a great idea. That's a great idea.
Oh, and Gil says, "Welcome to the fam."
Thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah. He's good people. Hi, Beth. Thanks for jumping on. Appreciate you. Okay. Well, I think that's probably, if anybody else has any other questions, I'll let you know how to get those questions to Kenneth here after I put him backstage. But right now, so give us the future here. What's in the immediate future? What's next? What do you have coming up? What can we look forward to?
Yeah, so I have another series that's coming out called My Super Fiance. That's more superhero than supernatural, but it does kind of still have that same kind of mythos kind of thing in it. And it is set in the same world as My Dead Boyfriend. Max and the main character of My Super Fiance are cousins. So
Oh,
I'm doing this where I'm going to weave in different things and hopefully have a book where they actually get to meet up
right
and
on.
tell supernatural stories. And that'll be released probably in the summer. And then My Dead Boyfriend 2 will come out in the fall, probably right around Halloween again, which I was so excited that my publisher released it on Halloween. That made me so happy.
Oh, that is so cool. So hold on, let me clarify so I can keep an eye on this.
Mhm,
So the Super Fiance
mhm.
is that a separate, like in a separate trilogy, like a
Yes,
separate kind of thing? Okay, okay. So My
yes,
Dead Boyfriend
it's
2 is the next in this
yes,
world
in the My
story.
Dead Boyfriend
Okay.
series, and then the next series is My Super Fiance, and they'll kind of come out. It'll be My Dead Boyfriend, My Super
Oh.
Fiance, My Dead Boyfriend, My Super Fiance, and then there's a one shot that'll come out after that's got a whole bunch of other stuff in it that's not supernatural in any way.
Okay. Okay. He did already answer this. I just want to throw this one up here. Beth joined us late. Have you ever had a paranormal experience? Sorry if someone has asked. Just getting here. I don't know if you want to leave us with a little quick thing or just a. Have you ever experienced anything weird, like a creature, like a cryptid, anything like that?
Oh God. Um, okay, so
See, I knew I could count on this. Go ahead.
so to bring in echo, and no one ever believes this story, and we may have told you this in one of our many drama parties.
Okay.
When we were really little, our mothers took us trick-or-treating, and our fathers were supposed to get our little sisters ready for bed. Instead, they opened up a 6-pack or 12-pack or 24-pack, who knows, with our dads. And the moms came back and nothing was done, so they made take us out again. And we're so stupid. So we go to the mayor's house, and the mayor is dressed like a werewolf. And he's sitting there with a thing of candy. And Echo, she was Rainbow Bright, I was Gizmo. And we reached for the candy, and the werewolf like jumped up and scared the shit out of us. So we ran. Our dads ran after us. The werewolf ran after our dads. We were like, they're fat. They're going to die. So we run past my house into the cemetery and hide behind a bunch of gravestones. And why did I tell the story? So yeah, that sparked her fear of werewolves. But other than that's why I told the story. I
So
told you I'm
you saw
weird.
an almost werewolf.
Almost werewolf. She's petrified of them. As far as like, I, I know there've been little, I don't know, like cryptids and creatures. I think I was abducted by aliens when I was really little. But that's a
Whoops.
whole other story.
All
But
right. All right.
yeah,
How about you're gonna will you tell me that story for Patreon, my Patreon members, and
yes.
we'll record it on the back end because you can't leave me yet without telling me it. No, Black Cat. No, it's mine. Mine. I'll share it with you. No worries. Tell. Okay, calm down, everybody. No, we do need to wrap this up. We just have a couple more things here to get through. I would like you to let folks know where to find and follow you online, and where do you want to send them to buy the book?
So the book is on Amazon, and which is it's hopefully going to brick and mortar this year. But right now it is on Amazon through Digital Fabulous is my publisher, and you can buy it in hardback and paperback and Kindle and all that, and the hardback. I'm so excited. Like I bought my own copy because I was so
Whee!
excited for it. So yeah, this is yeah. Um, but yeah, so it's there. And as far as my socials, I'm so bad at social media. Kenneth Official is my Instagram. I do have a Facebook for my dead boyfriend, and I'll be starting one for my super fiance soon. But I think it's just facebook.com, my dead boyfriend series. Um,
Okay.
I said, I'm so bad at social media. I need my friend Renee hates me because I'm like, can you do this for me? Because I am so bad at it.
It's
But
it's tough. It's really hard
it's
for I think it's hard for everybody.
well, and we're right in that generation where it shouldn't be hard for us, but it is. And yeah, the my dead boyfriend, it is just my dead boyfriend. So yeah,
Okay.
so it's
Okay.
it's there.
Okay. I think I was able to successfully get
Yes.
everything that you said there in the show notes. So hopefully, if not, I will edit on the back end and get that up there. All right. So I am going to put you backstage. Just
Okay.
hang out there once I put you there, and I'll meet you on once the stream is ended. But to close out our discussion here, would you leave my audience with any final thoughts, words of wisdom, or a piece of advice?
Oh, you put me on the spot. Just be just be open to everything. I mean, the universe is so vast that to think that everything is, black and white is kind of silly. And not as fun. Just embrace everything. So
I don't
I don't know.
I dig it. I dig it. All right. Artist, spinner of fantasy, paranormal romance author, Kenyth Mogan. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me. This was so much fun. I'm sorry I'm so weird. So I had a blast.
No worries. You can make up for it with the UFO story. Mine. All right. Kenneth, I'm going to put you backstage. I will be right back. Okay.
Perfect.
All right. Oh, isn't he wonderful? He is wonderful. Just the nicest fella you'll ever meet. Find out more, follow my guest online. I have those links in the show notes. You can also pick up a copy of the book, My Dead Boyfriend. Also, the link is in the show notes. If you had questions, I saw some later questions, and I'm trying to get them out of here. But I will grab your questions. I will get you answers, babies. I will just message me. I'll either pull them from the chat or message me privately. Paranormgirlpod@gmail.com. Please support PGP by following on social, all of social at Paranorm Girl Pod. I have recently set up a Blue Sky social account as well. So I am over there now. So if you are over there, please come join me, make me your friend. Before you leave tonight, make sure you like the video and are subscribed to the channel if you have not already. That's a fantastic way to show support for what I do over here. A further and final way to show support for both this monthly guest live segment that we are going to do moving forward and the regular deep dive episode formats that are going to be twice a month. And that is what we are going to do moving forward. You can always become a patron. It's incredibly appreciated, that kind of support. Just really appreciate it. There's different perks for different tiers, but every patron gets a shout out on the show and early access to those regular episodes. Speaking of regular episodes, we are launching back up Tuesday. Yay! Finally. Yes. Yes. Boom. Boom. I just punched my mic. I'm so excited. Yes. After the longest hiatus in the history of podcast I don't know. Yes, the show returns. I am discussing stone tape theory and a very strange water hypothesis that I think I came up with. I went deep down that rabbit hole for this water hypothesis. I'm very proud of it. I did write an article about it. Stone Tape Theory and the Hypothesis, and that is going to be published over at the Society for Arcane Studies blog. I am a member of the society, and they invited me to write them an article, and so I did. So that should be published very, very soon. I will be sharing that on social, so keep an eye out on social for that announcement. So exciting. But that is a wrap for us for now. Once again, thank you all so much for tuning in. Stay tuned. I will be back next month. Not next month, Tuesday. Oh my God, Kristen. Yes, I will see you on Tuesday. Until then, stay safe, keep the nightlight on, and sleep with one eye open.